Hello, my beautifully flawed people. How you doing out there? This is your girl Aja, back to you with another message, a beautiful message. This one definitely is a beautiful message. Yes, I'm back today. It's going to be a different message today. This is a testimonial message, a message that I said that I would bring of my third miracle that I have received from the Father. And that is none other than my beautiful daughter, my baby girl, Trinity. But before I go into her story, I would like to say that this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Yes. So I'm getting ready to jump right into this message. I'm looking at my pictures that I have here. I couldn't find a lot of them. And you know what? Y'all mothers out there that are mothers of multiple children, y'all know this is the truth. Now, when you have your first one, you have books galore, pictures galore, everything you do save. I mean, and as each child come, it just, baby, yeah, I'm just trying to survive. And especially in my case, when I had babies 14 months apart, and yeah, it was something else. So, I shared with my last message about having Talia, how I prayed for her, how, starting with Anissa. For those who have not heard these messages, I'm going to just do a real quick recap of at the time I was married, and I had my first daughter. We had been married 4 years, and we were not able to have children. And I had a miscarriage, and I don't know. At the time, yeah, I had a miscarriage before I had Nisa. That's my oldest child. I had a miscarriage. We had a word that God was going to do these things for me, and I was going to go to doctors and different things like that. And I did that, even though the prophecy said I would, and I did. And so, yeah, when I gave up, God showed up. So he gave me my oldest daughter, which was a blessing. I cried like a baby. Y'all didn't go back to that. Hear that message, that testimony message. I cried like a baby. I cried more. I cried harder and more than her. She didn't even hardly cry. My oldest child was such a sweet baby, such a sweet baby. And then I had that was like I said, 4 years into my marriage, I had my oldest. 4.5 more years went by before I had my second. Now with my second, when my second baby, I was about to do those same things again when it was quickening my spirit that God had already did these things before. I was praying again about having a baby. I did not want my oldest to be the only child. And so God blessed me. God blessed me that year to have my baby girl, my middle girl. I call all my daughters my baby. So, I'm gonna have to make sure I note that I say my oldest, I say my middle, I say my baby, because, which is my youngest, because I call them all my baby, because they always gonna be mama's babies. So, so I had my oldest, I had my middle, and I guess I feel like the Father was like, you believe me sooner this time. I ain't gonna let you wait too long to have this one. And 5 months into my pregnancy, I mean, not pregnancy, into 5 months later, I was pregnant. I was pregnant with, and I have some funny stories. Some of when I say these stories, no, this is my story. And I hope anybody do not get offended by some of the things that I'm going to say. These are, remember, this is beautifully flawed. And I was in a different place then. And I hope these testimonies of these things help someone in some way. May not be you're praying or wanting a child, but it's something. See, my impossible, what I felt was impossible was having a child. That was impossible because it was something that me and my husband wasn't able to do. Yeah, it wasn't. So that was impossible for us to do, but what was impossible for us to do, God did. So so when I say certain things, it was just me speaking my truth at that time. So when I got pregnant with Trinity, I kind of felt like I might be, but I wasn't quite sure. So I remember being on the phone with a friend, and it was April 1st. You know, that's supposed to be April Fool's Day. And they say, I didn't know this then, but they were saying don't ever do April Fool's jokes about pregnancies and stuff like that. So Lord forgive me for doing this joke, but I did do this on my best friend at the time. It's still funny to me, but listen to the story. So I had Talia, and Talia's about 5 months old, my little tinker tink. And she's about 5 months old. And I called my friend because we would talk almost like every day. I was living in the state of Maryland at that time. And it was April Fool's Day. So I'm going to play a joke on her. Yeah, I'm going to play a joke on her. So I called her and I was like, girl, oh my goodness, girl, I'm pregnant. And she was like, really? Like, she was really, what? And then I don't know how long I waited for it, but I was like, girl, April Fool's. She was livid. She was so upset. See, because she was like, girl, don't do that again. Like, she didn't find nothing funny about me playing an April Fool's about me being pregnant. First of all, that has been my struggle. Like, when I had my first child, I was 31 years old. When I had Talia, I was 35 years old and turning 36. So by the time Talia was born on the 10th of October, the 19th, I was 36 years old. So, yeah, it wasn't funny, but it was funny to me at the time. And she was upset. And she was like, girl, that's not, don't play like that. You know, don't play with me like that, especially about something as sensitive as this, because like I said, me and her rocked for a long time. I mean, she knew the tears I cried about infertility and dealing with that. And so I don't know why I thought that at the time would be funny, but I did. And then I also remember, I got, before I go into, but the joke was on me though. We gonna get into that. The joke was on me because it was, it was true. I didn't know at the time, but I was pregnant when I actually told her that joke, which is not a joke. When I said that to her, I did not know I was pregnant at the time, even though in women intuition, I kind of had a deep feeling, but I wasn't sure because I dealt with infertility. And like I said, it took 4 years into my marriage. It took 4 years into my marriage for me to have my oldest, and 4.5 more years for my second oldest. So I wasn't looking for that turnaround to hit me, for me to be pregnant again so soon after having a baby. I was not ready for that. So then I remember my aunt called me. My dad's sister, and those family members that believe in when you dream about fish and somebody in the family is pregnant. And, old folks' wise tales are in this case. And, I don't believe in a lot of stuff like that, but evidently it was true. And she was like, and she had a younger daughter at the time. She had daughters at the time. So she was like, she called me of all people. I had just had a baby. I'm like 5 months ago. And she was like, Aja, she was like, are you pregnant? You pregnant? Cause I had a dream about fish. Somebody in the family is pregnant. So I'm like, what you calling me for? I was really offended because I'm like, I just had a baby. I ain't trying to have no baby after I just had a baby. And I'm like, what you calling me? I'm not pregnant. Get off my phone, ma'am. Like, no, I didn't say that to her, but I'm like, no, I'm not pregnant. Why you ain't call your daughter? Your daughter could be your daughter. She talking about no. She was like, it's either between you, and I don't want to say my cousin's name at the time. I mean, well, that's her name anyway, but I don't want to say her name. You know, she might not want me to say her name. So she was like, I was like, that could be such and such. Why do you think it's me? I just had a baby. Well, I dreamed of it. And she was adamant that somebody was pregnant in the family. And she really thought it was me. She called me. And I am offended because she calling me. Because why would you be calling me? I just had a baby 5 months ago. You know my story. Why are you calling me? But I really believe she believed that I was pregnant. So, and she was right. So when I did find out that I was pregnant for real, it was a pleasure. It was a I actually was happy about it in the very, very beginning. It was just like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant for real. And I remember calling my aunt, and she ain't let me get not a good hello, how you doing now? And she called it immediately. She said, you pregnant, aren't you? I said, yes, I am. She said, I knew it was you. I knew it. I knew it was you. I knew it. She said, I knew somebody. She said, I knew it. She said, I knew somebody was in it, and I believed it was you. She knew. I mean, no lie to you. Soon as she knew, I didn't get to even say, hey, I don't even know how she knew I was calling about that. Because I think that was maybe days, weeks. I don't even know. I can't remember how long from the conversation she called me about the dream of fish. I don't know how long that was, but I don't believe it was. I don't believe it was in that week. I don't believe, but I don't remember either. But I just was very shocked that me calling her, she knew exactly what I was calling for. And before I could say anything, I couldn't even get a good hi, auntie, hi, aunt, nothing. You pregnant, aren't you? And yes, I was. So that's the little funny stories that I had. I was pregnant. I had to call my best friend, let her know, look, for real, this time I'm not joking with your girl. Your girl is pregnant for real. And jokes on me. And she said, that's what your butt get. Yeah, it was it was one of those jokes that turned out in for the best, like it was God's pleasant surprise for me. But disclaimer, I got my little disclaimer and my little caution, and don't play jokes like that, because there's a lot of women that deal with infertility and it's not funny. It is not funny. And yeah, I didn't know that then, did not know that was a thing that you just don't joke about stuff like that. And being that, I was in I dealt with infertility. I should have known better, but I didn't. So that's why I said, excuse me, y'all. There's going to be some things y'all might, because I know there's some women out there, even some men that may want children. I'm just here to share my testimony of how God can do the impossible. Doesn't matter what age you are. Doesn't matter what your situation looks like. God can do a blessed thing, an impossible thing, a manifested thing of what you have prayed for. You will see the manifestation of what he said you can have. If that he said that you can have a child, if he said that you gonna have a child, because we know the story of Abraham and Sarah, you gonna have that child. Okay, so if it was a word from God, God gonna fulfill that word, and you will see his promise. Okay, so getting into the pregnancy with Trinity, mind you, I had 3 children under the age of 4.5. Nisa was gonna be 5 that coming March. Yes, that coming March. So she was only 4.5. I had to take her to school. I had a baby, and I had a baby in my belly, and it was funny because I was just had a baby that year. Now, put this out here. When I got pregnant with Talia, I got pregnant in the same year I had her. So that January, got pregnant with her. Well, I can't, don't know, but about January sometime. And so I got pregnant with her in the year 2013, had her October 2013. Got pregnant turned around the next year, got pregnant with Trinity 2014, had her December 22nd, 2014. So I literally had a small window where I was not pregnant, but I still was dealing with a newborn, a baby. And Talia was a sweet baby too. Now, so going into the pregnancy with Trinity, we had went through a lot of trauma. And so I was battling the trauma. Remember, when I first found out I was pregnant with Trinity, it was like, man, I was so shocked and happy at the same time, because this was the first pregnancy I felt like that there wasn't a struggle trying to get pregnant with. I didn't even pray for it. And it was like God gave it to me. So I was trying to process. And I don't know if I was thinking about that consciously then, but as time was going on and things was rough, because I had these three, well, at the time two, but I was pregnant and I was sick throughout my pregnancy. That's another story with all three of my daughters. I was not just sick for the first trimester, second trimester sick, third trimester sick, to the point I prayed. God is a miracle working God. I prayed when I found out I was pregnant with Trinity. I was like, God, please. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this, because we're living in Maryland. We are away from family. We don't have we don't have any help. We did have some friends at the time that helped tremendously, but they had their own thing going on and they didn't have any children at the time there. And so it was just me and my ex-husband at the time. And so here I am, an at-home mom, totally dependent on my ex-husband at the time, financially, everything. And I'm going to tell y'all, ladies, I thought way before I ever was married, I thought I wanted to be Molly, the homemaker, and I wanted to do everything from scratch. I'm going to bake their birthday cakes from scratch. I'm going to homeschool them. I'm going to do all of this stuff. Baby, let me tell you, no, I didn't realize how independent by nature I was. Like, I've been working since the age of, how old was I? My first age of 19, I believe, 18, 19 years old, 18. I have been working from the age of 18 years old on up, never not had a job. I was the one that had a job, 2 jobs, and going to school. I remember my dad was like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you work and you go into school and you doing this. Like, I've always worked. I always brought in something. I always had my own. If I wanted to go to the store and get something, I'm going to be able to get it. So going to a place where you're totally independent, I ain't going to say totally independent. I was living with my daddy. Yes, I was. But I was, before I got married. And then I was living on my own before I got married and stuff. So I was going from daddy to my own place, but I really did take care of, for the majority of my life, I really did take care of myself. I always had a job. So I went from daddy's house. I went from daddy's house to my own place. I lived with my grandparents for a while too. I was living with grandparents. So I had that. But I still worked. So that's my thing. I still worked. It didn't matter who I was living with. I was still working. So having my own place, and then got married and we got our place. We lived in the place that I had before, and we moved, and my life took off from there. So growing financially, growing in that area spiritually in a lot of ways too, because that's when I went into ministry and different things like that. That's another story for y'all. A lot of y'all don't know I went into ministry and went to school for that and did that. I was in school for nursing and did that and didn't finish that because other things transpired. We end up moving from North Carolina to Maryland, so that kind of stopped the nursing thing. I did get my CNA license at that time. So yeah, your girl was she was working. She was in school. I was doing things. So going back to Maryland, being pregnant, and now having to totally depend on my husband for the bare necessities. I didn't go through that season well, mind you. I didn't go through that season well. That was a hard season for me because a lot of my pride, a lot of me not being able to contribute, even though I was contributing and then I was sick. Let me go back to that. I was sick each pregnancy. So with Nisa, I was my sickest. Literally, like I told y'all in my last message, there were details I left out. With Nisa, I was in a wheelchair. And literally in a wheelchair. I was bedridden and on bed rest and different things to moving from being that in that condition to being pregnant with Talia and having gestational diabetes with her, having to prick my fingers. I thought my fingers was never going to be the same because they were pricked to death, because you had to prick yourself. You had to take your sugar like 4 times a day, and you had a chart. They gave you a chart and you had to chart it down. So I had gestational diabetes with her, and I was sick the entire pregnancy. I'm talking about sick where you throwing up. Food just don't taste good. Food just ain't good. But you gotta eat. So it's almost like a double-edged sword. In one point, you don't want to eat, but if you don't eat, you're more sick. And then when you do eat, you're sick and you're throwing that up. So it was just a lot that I had went through. And that's not even the end of it. Like, I don't have enough time to give the whole details of every pregnancy, what I went through. So I was praying. I prayed against gestational diabetes. I prayed, I said, God, I cannot afford to be that sick. I got this baby. I got to take Nisa to school. I just can't do it. So please, I can't be sick. I can't be sick where I can't be throwing up. And God granted me that. I didn't have gestational diabetes, and I did not, I was sick the whole pregnancy, but I was not throwing up. I did not throw up. And for me, my stomach being sick, it puts me all the way down. So for me, it took a lot of energy out of me. And then I still had to be mommy to my babies and to Talia and to Anissa. So being pregnant with Trinity, it was different from the very beginning. Even being pregnant with her was, how would I say it? It was, for the most part, because I wasn't as sick with her, it was good. But it was one of those things like her movements. Like I said, I had 2 other babies, and I love that. That's one of the beautiful parts of being pregnant, is feeling your baby move and kick. And with Talia, she constantly had the hiccups, so I could tell when, my belly would be jumping because she in there. Baby, she kept the hiccups when she was when I was pregnant with her. So different things, and feeling them. But with Trinity, I was on eggshell, like, please don't move. She was rough. She was rough. Like, that was my first baby that I ever had, that to be pregnant with, and felt like I was getting beat up on the inside. Elbows, kicks, pow, boom, pow. Like, girl, that hurts. Like, with Trinity, she was about that life. She still is, honey. She had that personality from the womb. She was in there. I'm like, this baby different. She in there, I don't know what. Is she mad? You know? So I don't know. She was like, dang, I ain't asked to be here. Where am I at? She was beating me up from the inside. You know, she was beating me up. And so so I knew she was a different personality. Like, I really did know she was gonna be a different personality before I had her. Did not know how different she was gonna be. That's gonna be the surprise. I did not know how different, but I knew she was different. So I remember thinking that she was gonna be my boy. Nobody could tell me that she was not gonna be my boy. She was my bonus baby, and I knew I was having a boy. This a son. This a son. So in my last message, I talked about when you're older and you're pregnant, they roll the geriatric carpet out for you, baby. They roll that thing out, and you walk that red carpet. You be in there, and just they take care of you. They always monitor to you. And for some people, that can get on their nerve. But remember, I was an at-home mom. I'm an at-home mom, so I'm putting Talia in her stroller, and I'm going to my appointments. Matter of fact, my appointments was my days to actually dress up and be cute and go somewhere, because for the most part, I was at home with the baby. I ain't want to go nowhere. I ain't feel like going anywhere. So most of the time was me going to take Nisa to school in the morning, pick her up in the evening. Sometimes if my ex-husband at the time was getting off early, he would go pick her up or take her to school. So sometimes he could do that. Most of the times it was me. So I look forward to my appointments. I'm like, well, that was one of the good things. So so I remember early on, I was 12 weeks. Now, some of y'all, this gonna sound, if you were 36, 35 and above, you probably familiar with a story like this. They do a panorama test. They do genetic testing when you're 35 and older. They started with me because I had Talia. Remember the 2013, I just had Talia, and I was not considered high risk or advanced maternal age. They were okay. I was 35. I wasn't going to be 36 to that October. I had Talia the October 10th. So, and I turned 36 at 36 then, so, on the 19th. So, just the next year, I'm geriatrics. I was like, I just was in here last year having a baby. So y'all gonna really do me like a sister like that? Yes, they did. They really, I had just had Talia. Talia was a baby. I was rolling Talia around, and I had a baby in my belly, and they had me as advanced maternal age. And when you're considered advanced maternal age, you go to separate appointments than your OB/GYN appointments. So because I was considered advanced maternal age, they had to do testing. Now, you can opt out of getting genetic testing. Some people do. I didn't. The reason why I opted to do it is because it did not matter if she had anything, if she had Down syndrome or anything like that. I was not going to abort my baby because I don't believe in abortion. So it didn't matter. I just want to be prepared that if anything was wrong, that I could prepare myself and get ready for my baby if something was wrong, but not because I wanted to abort. But some people want genetic testing because sometimes they give you the option to abort depending on how severe the abnormality or deformity or whatever is. Sometimes they give you that option, and some people take that option. It was not an option for me because I wasn't going to make that choice. So, make a long story short, I came in for my advanced maternal age, and I came in for my genetic testing. So I knew what I was coming in there for. So and I wasn't prepared that they take you into an office and actually talk to you about your husband's genetic history for what you can know and tell them, and your own and what's in your family, and they do all of that. And then she was explaining to me how they do the test is done with blood. And she was like, this is what we're going to look for. This is what we're going to test for. This is what we're going to do. And it was I was so intrigued because nursing is one of the things that I love. I wanted to be a nurse before I went into cosmetology. That's my first love. So and cosmetology have become my first love. It has switched the route now. So now my first love is cosmetology because that's what I've been working in 20 plus years. So I love it, but I still have a love for nursing. So I get intrigued by stuff like certain medical information. I'm like, ooh. So that I like it. So so what happened? Yeah, so she was telling me all the genetic testing and I'm eating it up, and she telling me and one of the things she told me is how accurate the test is, and she told me like 95 point something or whatever. It wasn't 99 points, but it was like 99, 95 point something, that it can give you what the sex of your baby is and different things like that in the genetic stuff like that, just to see if there's anything wrong. I said, okay. So part 2 of that appointment is actually getting my ultrasound. Mind you, I'm thinking that I'm just going to get blood drawn. They're going to put in this, they're going to send off my genetic testing. And in 2 weeks, they told me in 2 weeks, they'll call me and let me know the results. Okay. So I'm still geriatrics though. They got to check this baby. So I'm going to have to go into the next room to have an ultrasound. Now, mama, tell y'all something. This is in the state of Maryland. They good with their medical. They are they bad mama jammas when it comes to, because John Hopkins is up that way. I went to John Hopkins when I was pregnant with Talia. They got that technology that's amazing. Mind you, I got to keep saying this. 12 weeks. Most people that have a baby know they get their results of what their baby is about the 20th week. They tell you, they do the anatomy scan. In 20 weeks, they could tell you exactly what the baby is with really no mistake. Y'all waiting for this. I go in there for the ultrasound. Doctor in there, nurse in there. They gonna do an ultrasound. I'm 12 weeks. I'm just thinking I'm gonna see a little gummy bear, or she was bigger than that, but just a little arms, a little her in there just floating around because she's full of water and she just little. And he was like, "You want to know the sex of your baby?" I'm looking at him like, "Huh?" He said, "Do you want to know the sex of your baby?" I was like, "You can know at 12 weeks? I ain't even thinking none of that's developed down there like that. 12 weeks? You gonna tell me what she is? Or it is at the time, because I didn't know." He was like, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I would. I know I'm having a boy. Look at me." He went down there and looked. He did the thing, and he did some kind of, I'm going to show you on my hand, because he did just like this. That's him zooming in on the, he said, "It's a girl." Now, I know the devil is a lie. I said, no, I'm telling, no, it's not. Nah. He looked at the nurse. They've been doing this for years. I'm going to tell the doctor, no. He said to the nurse, he said, "What that look like to you?" She said, "A girl." I don't care what y'all say. Both of y'all working for Satan. I ain't stunned y'all. No, both of y'all. Okay. All right. We getting ready to get these results in 2 weeks, but which is going to be more accurate than this, because I ain't never got no ultrasound at no 12 weeks and somebody told me what the sex of my baby is. Never. So y'all can miss me with that. So I didn't say all this to them. This is how I'm thinking. I'm having a boy. What you mean a girl? Okay. So I wasn't sweating it because I knew they were lying. So they ain't even wait a good week. Remember, my results supposed to come back in 2 weeks. They ain't wait a good week to call me back to rub it in my face. Oh, I have to rose my eyes, I'm a very visual person. And when I remember details, I remember them like it was yesterday. I was in Annapolis, because that's where we were staying, Annapolis, Maryland. I was in Annapolis, Maryland traffic. I don't even know where I was coming from. And they called me on the phone. Nurse called me. she was like, you know, you got to verify who he is. And I was like, this Miss Green. Yes, this is Mrs. Green. And she was like, we're calling from the doctor's office and we got your results back. Would you like to know what your results is? She said, we got the results back for the genetic testing. And we also, with the testing, we could tell you what the sex of your baby is. Would you like to know what your results is? Yes, sure. She said, well, I'm going to start with the good news. The good news is that, you know, there's no abnormalities. And she said, for what we tested for, like trisomy 13 and Down syndrome, she doesn't have that, but they have to put that disclaimer because she said the test and other things that they tested for she did not have, but it doesn't mean that she cannot have something that the testing did not pick up on. Okay, I'm cool with that. All right, but she doesn't have the main things that they tested for. All right, so with the sex of the baby, this one I want to call her heifer so bad. That's what she gonna say to me. Now, she already knew the answer. I don't know if it was the nurse that was in that room when I was telling them, no, I believe I'm having a boy. I don't know if it was the same nurse before. I got a little inkling in my spirit that it was the same nurse. And she just couldn't wait to pop my little bubble. Okay? So she gonna ask me. And I already know the answer. She said, because she could have just went in and said, hey, you're having a girl. No, she gonna say, you were in here, last week or so, and did they tell you what you were having in the office when on the ultrasound? See, now something should have clicked in me that when she said that look at this. Let me, y'all pray for me. Because when I believe something, ain't nothing you can do to change my mind. And she was like, did they tell you what? I said, yeah, they told me, but I don't believe it's right. I'm having a boy. And I was serious. Baby, if you could hear a pin drop, she only let it drop just a little bit. I mean, it was a little water drop. As soon as it hit the ground, she was saying what she had to say. She said, well, it's a girl. I took the air up out my lungs. I was like, how accurate is the test? She like, it's 99.1%. Look, I ain't finished with her. So there's no other way that it could be wrong? She said, no, ma'am, it's 99.1%. I had to take a time to laugh at myself. I really feel like when she got off that phone, she laughed and she probably was like praying for me a little bit at the same time. Like, this really, she's a little delulu. And was. Yeah. At that time, I want me a son. You ain't gonna tell me. And baby, I ain't finished, y'all. Y'all ain't finished. I ain't finished. Sis ain't finished. So, yeah, gave me that news. It still didn't do nothing to me. I was like, okay, you could be wrong. Yeah, you could be wrong. So, yeah. 99.1. Them folks ain't wrong. That blood test ain't wrong. You having a girl. So, went on growing in the Lord, growing in my little boo-boo. She growing in there. I'm still like, nah, it's probably a boy. It's still a boy. Yeah, it's a boy. So I remember going into this particular appointment, and I think this was the anatomy appointment. I don't think it really was. I think it was. But at that particular time, they were not checking for the sex of her because the ultrasound that magnifies things, I guess, to 1,000, that told me that I was having a girl. That was their confirmation because they had it on ultrasound and they had the blood test to back it up. So at this point, they're not checking for the sex of her anymore because they know it's a girl. The only person that does not know it's a girl in her mind, because she won't listen to them folks. Them folks been going to school. They done went and did all this stuff they did. And I wasn't listening to them because I knew what was best, because God promised me a son and this got to be the boy because we're not having any more kids. We are done. And I think that's what it was for me too, is because I knew that we were not going to have any more kids. So, because the journey had been hard from Anissa to Trinity, it had, and then to Leah in the middle, it had been a rough time. Not just the pregnancies, just everything, that was going on at the time. So I was depleted as far as having any more children. And so this appointment, they doing the anatomy, they look checking this and checking that. She looking perfect. And I was like, I won't even no shame in my game. Do y'all hear me? I said, can you go down and see what it is again? Can I? Because now I wanted to see it with my eyes. Because I couldn't see it on the 12-week scan. And you telling me the test said that it is, but I haven't physically seen it. And because I've had 2 girls prior, I know what it looks like. It's obvious what a boy look like. It's obvious what a girl looks like. So I had to see it for myself. And I that's just, I have to see it for myself. That's a word right there. I had to see it for myself. I was doubting Thomas. I was doubting Thomas at the time. I got to see it for myself, because I was standing on the word that I believed that I had received, that I was going to have a son. So this is the reason why I was not because I wanted a boy so bad. Let me put that out there. It wasn't because I wanted a boy so bad. Because had God said you're going to have all girls, I would have been all right with that. But because I believed that God was going to give me a son, I was not all right with the fact that I had all girls at that time. So, or I wouldn't have been, because I didn't know at the time. So, this is a testimony for somebody. This is going to help somebody, because I'm going somewhere with this. So when, and they were, I don't know what they were thinking in their mind, but they probably just was like, let's just go ahead and let her see. And so they went down there. Like I said, same doctor. I think it was the same nurse. And they went down there, and I seen it for myself. Plain as day. And that back this time, she's, they look huge on that ultrasound. Plain as day. Do you want us to take a picture of it for you could really see? No, you ain't even got to take a picture. It's clear as day. That's a little girl. I just smiled. That's a little girl. And my response is not the smile I have right now. I wanted it to be. I was going to wait until get into my car and break down, because I didn't want them to see me cry. But I couldn't hold it, because the denial and me holding on to that word that I believed that God had said, when it was not what I thought it would be, I broke. I broke. And I began to cry. And I remember the nurse was like, are you crying because you having another girl? I said, I'm not crying because I'm having another girl. I said, I'm crying because I never have a boy, because this is it. It was like me grieving. It was like a death. And y'all gonna understand, I'm gonna put this little disclaimer. When I was young, I lost a son. Lost 2 little baby boys. Never got to hold, never got to take home. And I felt like God was going to give that to me back. I was going to have a son. Not to replace what I've lost, because it wouldn't be the same. But I just knew that God was just going to restore back me a son. And so I was hurt, because it felt like grief that I was burying a son again, because I would never have that. So that's why it was so strong for me, because I believe restoration, God restoring something to you, was going to be in the form of a boy. I was going to have a boy. This is it. This is my 3rd child. This is it. And it's a girl. Where's my son that you said I thought you was going to restore a son to me. So that's what the hurt came from. It was more so that what I believed and what I was holding out for, it didn't manifest the way I thought it should. It didn't come out. It wasn't what I thought it should be, or what I thought it was going to be. And so when I told her that, I said, no. And here come that doctor. Always a man. Well, you can always have another one. Sir, do it look like 3 times? Do it look like it's working in my favor to have a son? Do it look like it's working in my favor? Because if what I do is turn right around and get pregnant the next year and to be another girl, I'm gonna go upside your head. Okay? So no. And I'm gonna tell y'all another thing. I just don't believe in having a baby to get to a certain sex. No dig. This is no dig or diss to anybody that has done that. I don't believe in that, because I believe children are a blessing, and whatever God gives me is a blessing. I want that. The only reason I reacted the way I did is because I felt like it was a promise for me of a son. I stood on something that I believed, and it wasn't so. So that was the disappointment, not in me having a girl. So I was not getting ready to go and get pregnant again, and get pregnant again, and get pregnant again, trying to get a boy. I wasn't going to try to make it happen, because if it did not happen, it wasn't meant to happen. And God knows what's best for me. And I must receive the gift that he gave me. So that's why I had to tell her, no, I'm not grieving. I'm not crying because I'm having a girl, because that's beautiful. I'm looking at my baby on the screen and she's beautiful. Even though I didn't know what she was going to look like, she was my baby and I loved her and she was beautiful. But I was grieving the loss of a son, because I knew she was going to be my last child. And she has been my last. She's going to be 9 years old, December the 22nd of this month. And I wouldn't trade her for anything, because it never was about me having a son because I just wanted a son. It was because I thought it was a promise of God, and maybe it still is. I don't know. But I have 3 girls, and like people said, I look forward to maybe being a grandmother to a grandson. God got a reason for everything. The thing about it, I wanted a child. I wanted children. And God giving me 3 girls is just what I needed. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love being a girl mom. I wouldn't trade it for anything in this world. And so I want to share some pictures with y'all, but I end up having Trinity on the 22nd of December. I took her home on the 24th. And at that time, I did celebrate Christmas and everything. So she was she came home on Christmas Eve. I had her in a cute little outfit. Excuse me. A cute little outfit. And, she was, at that time, I spoke as if she was my beautiful Christmas gift, my gift before Christmas. And honestly, she still is my gift. And all of my children are my gift. And so I have some pictures here. And when we would take pictures and stuff like that, I think these particular pictures that I took, and a lot of Trinity's pictures, I have on our computer or on a thumb drive that I have not been able to find. And so I only have some pictures I'm glad I had these pictures done at JCPenney's. Now I got a little funny story about that. Let me show you these pictures. But this is Trinity. I'm gonna show you Trinity. This is all of us. That's Trinity. That's Talia. And that's Anissa. And that was me in the middle. That's my little miracle baby too. All 3 of them are miracle babies. This is Trinity right here. Who I thought was my boy. This is remember how I told you how she was different in the womb? Look how different she looked compared to her sisters. That's Talia. So Trinity was 1, Talia was 2, and Nisa was, I believe, if she was 2, she was 6. I believe she was 6. Yeah, she was 6. So, yeah. And let me see. There goes. She had the one in her mouth. She look how look. You see how them little toes is out. She had socks on her feet. She kept taking them off. I mean, as quick as we were putting them back on her foot. Lady snapped the picture. She done had it right back on off. She was like, and that picture, she did a good job because that was, you know, the pictures that have come out, the best pictures are the pictures that are not staged. She caught this with her because, you know, she's being Trinity. I'm gonna put this one in my mouth. So that was her. This is Trinity. She was 1, so it was around Christmas time we got their pictures done. I believe, oh, this was got our pictures done this day. And she was so photogenic. And let's see what else pictures we have. Okay. This is them on a calendar. Look, I always talk about Talia. I'm going to share the story. Look at Talia. All she cared about, I've said in my last message, all she cared about is those Christmas balls and everything. She did not care about seeing nothing else. I'm two. And you know how they say about them twos. And Trinity is being cute. And Nisa was always ready for the picture. Oh, you said what now? Oh, you said cheese? She was always ready for the picture to be taken. She going to be smiling. She was good and trained. Them other 2, Trinity was pretty good. That 2-year-old, and this is Trinity when she turned 2, and that's her. And this is her in preschool. Look at there. That's her in preschool. So, funny story. Take them to go get their pictures. As I said, Trinity is 1. Talia is 2, believe Nisa's 6. I'm laughing because, so when we get there with the girls, my ex didn't take any pictures that day. We just took the pictures. And this is so, the lady, and she was clever in how she did it, but I knew why she said it. And so when I brought the girls in, she was like, so are all of them yours? I'm thinking to myself, didn't I bring them all in here? So I was like, yes, they are. Because she trying to figure out where the little light-skinned baby came from. Where's this little light-skinned baby amongst these brown-skinned people? So, you know, she had a good way of saying it, but you know, Trinity was different from day 1. Personality, how she looked on the outside. And I'm going to tell y'all, a lot of people don't even understand how gracious God is and why he does some of the things that he do. For the majority of my life, I do not look like my mother. There are similarities of my mother that you'll see, like, oh, I see your mama. Oh, yeah, I can see a little bit. But for the most part, I look more like my dad's side of the family. I look more like my dad. So having a mother that was more fair skinned and everything, it was just, I did not feel, and then my mother did not raise me. My dad's side of the family raised me. So when I would go up to my mother's side, it just felt like, it just didn't feel like I fit in because they were more of the fairer skin side. I mean, really fair skin. And like I said, these are discussions we need to talk about because colorism is really a thing. And we have to be honest about it. Does it matter what your color is? No, but we do go through this stuff. It's not just racism. It's colorism within your own race. The dark against the light. The middle is somewhere in the middle. You're darker than the brown paper bag and all this kind of stuff. And it hurts children. It really do. I was one of those children affected by those things. So, you know, having one of those conversations. This is being transparent. When I was pregnant with her, I remember having a conversation with my friend, and I was like, oh, I hope she's not going to be light skinned like my mama. I said that. That was not a colorist statement. That wasn't a racist statement. I'm gonna tell you why I said it. I said it because my other babies were beautiful brown skinned babies. They were chocolate. And I did not want division in my household because I was the chocolate one in my family dynamics, and my brother and my cousin were light skinned. I shared that story. And it was hard to be different amongst people that look the same. You feel left out. You feel like you don't belong. And that's how I felt. I felt like that with my dad's side. And when I would go to New York to visit my mom's side, and they were all light skinned, and here I am darker. And even though my sister was brown, it didn't matter. I was the missing child. I did not think that was my mom. For a long time, I struggled with my identity. This is what I'm talking about. The devil does to us. I struggled with my identity because I did not look like my mom. I couldn't relate to what she looked like. And now maybe if I was raised with, I would have understood that, but I don't even know because I wasn't given the opportunity. So with that being said, when I was pregnant with Trinity, and I was talking to my friend, and I was like, I hope she's not light skinned like my mom. And she was like, why would you, why? And I was like, because I don't want that. I don't want my children to go through what I went through. If they all look the same, if they all the same complexion, then I will be fine. I don't have to worry about having them feel like somebody feel like she's better because she's light skinned and they're not because they're dark, and vice versa. I didn't want that, what I experienced growing up. God got other plans. Y'all hear me? He don't care about your plans. I mean, he does. I hate to say it like that, but you know how they say, if you show God your plans, he gonna, if you want to make God laugh, show him your plans. I really feel like he did that all my life. I be trying to show him what I want, and he'd be like, no, I got this. This what I got. You down with it? You're not, but you gonna do it anyway. So it did not matter what I wanted. He gave me what he knew I needed. So or sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, or quick of the draw, whatever you say, the genetics is just what it is. And so I had a baby. This blows my mind every time I look at my child. I had a baby, and I remember when I posted her on Facebook years ago in 2014, 15, when I was post her, and when I first posted her, and they were like, my mother's sisters, they was like, you carried her, but you had your mama's child. She looked that much like my mom. She looked that much like my mom. You know how they usually say a skip generation, like I would have had the child, and then my child would have had a child that looked like my mama. No, God made that thing where I know you always felt. And I remember my sister saying to me, she said, Aja, she said, I know you always struggled with if mommy was your mom, because I wasn't raised with her. I was raised with my dad. And I just thought they had picked me up. I was a baby. I was baby Moses. Somebody found me in the Nile River and they took me in. And I struggled with my identity. I thought I was adopted. I thought sometimes I didn't even think I belonged to my daddy family. Somebody is pulling wool over my eyes of what is going on here. Because that's what happens because I was not with my mom. So I remember my sister saying, once I had Trinity, she said, all the questions that you used to have, your questioning of if mommy was your mom, should be gone. And I said, yeah, by now. I said, you know what? You're right. But I said, I don't have it. I don't have a doubt. Before I had Trinity, I knew then, I'm good and grown. I knew then that she was, but it was like, Trinity was that bonus. That's what we call it, bonus baby. Did not know what's going to have her. Then the bonus of her being different, meaning looking just like my mother. And let me tell you how it's different now. Sometimes tests that we go through help us to teach our children. And with Trinity looking different, and I've had these conversations with her, and lo and behold, she do feel a certain way with her complexion being lighter and her sisters being darker. See, we think these children don't see stuff like that. We think we just go on and raise them and we love them and we think that they okay because I'm loving you all the same and I'm not showing no favoritism. But because she does not look like her daddy, I mean, she does look like her daddy, but she's not the complexion of her dad. And then she looks like her sisters. They favor each other. You can see that they're sisters, but at the same time, her complexion is different. And it's obviously different than they are. With that being said, I've had conversations with her. And I wish these conversations was given to me. And my conversations is simple as God created you, the complexion that he created you, because he knew that you can wear it. And he made you beautiful and he didn't make any mistake. He knew exactly what he was doing when he made you just the way you are. And I say that with all of my daughters. Y'all are beautiful just the way you are. Don't question why my skin is dark, why my lips are big, why they small, why this, why that, because you are now questioning God's creation and he don't make any mistakes. He doesn't make any mistakes. And in me speaking into my children, it's like God allowing me to speak back into myself, speak back into the little girl that didn't get it for myself. So he allowed Trinity to be different. So because if they all was the same, I wouldn't have been able to speak to the little girl that felt different amongst her siblings, or amongst her cousins and her family. So I speak to her identity so that she will know who she is. And I do that with all of my children because I love them all. It doesn't matter what complexion they are. Don't matter what the texture of their hair is. Don't matter whether they are big or small, tall or short. These are my girls and I pour into them and I validate them. So I'm saying all of that, I made some mistakes along the way. I did not understand what God was doing. I did not understand that everything that he does has a reason. We think that he's not in the little things. We think that he is not in the detail of things. Me being a little girl, not being able to relate to how my mother looked because I didn't look like my mother. I wanted to look exactly like her in order to feel like I was connected with her. I was really her child, especially living apart from her. I wanted that connection and I didn't have it. And see, I understand what Trinity feels because she has a brown mama and her skin is light. And she trying to figure out, I'm going to tell you, a little quick story. One time it was around Christmas time. This one, like I said, I just now got out of celebrating Christmas and stuff like that. So I was in it too. No judgment for those that I said like that was in them. No judgment. And this is when I started realizing, even when she was younger, that she knew there was a difference in her complexion compared to her siblings. So we were out and about at Walmart, and the Baby Alives was popular at that particular time, and they had came out with the Baby Alive, and they were so cute, and I just wanted to get it for them and wanted them to get these baby dolls. And so we in Walmart, and they had the Baby Alives. They had a white one with blonde hair. They had a light-skinned brown one with maybe brownish dark brown hair, and then they had the nice little chocolate one with the black hair. Well, I got the chocolate one off the shelf, gave it to Talia. Talia in love with it. I get the light-skinned one. It's a light-skinned black one. Light-skinned one. And I hand it to Trinity. She ain't like it. She looking at it. She looked up at the shelf because there was some more darker skinned ones up there. And she looks at the one that she has that looks like her, because I want them to love them. I want them to have baby dolls that look like them and represent them. So she looking at the baby doll and she looking up there at it, and she said, I want that one. She wanted the darker skinned one. She didn't want the lighter skinned one. And throughout people getting her baby dolls, if we would give Talia her complexion and give her a doll that was hers, she would always she would throw hers somewhere and she would play with Talia's. And I remember I was trying to tell her one day of her complexion. I said, your complexion is like honey. Because she hear me call the other ones chocolate. And I say, you lemon drop or honey, your skin like honey. She was like, no, she would not. She did not want me to tell her that her complexion was different. She wasn't ready yet. So I have to we don't see when a child, it's one thing when you have children and they all the same complexion or they're around the same complexion and you don't have that struggle in your household. You can't relate to what I'm talking about. But when you have children, especially in a household, especially in her case where she's the only one that's light, what that kind of does to a child. And this is the reason why we have to have these conversations. This is the reason why we can't just say, oh, well, I love them and I put food before them and I put drink before them, but I don't get to the intimacy of who they are. I don't get to the root of who they are. I don't speak to their insecurities, because the devil will come to them at young ages. Even to the point, I didn't even know this, that my daughters are 14 months apart. That's one is in one grade and one is in another. So they go to school together, right? They in elementary school. And they told me, because I had a sit down table talk with them. And that's when it comes out. This is the reason why the importance of talking and sitting down and having these conversations with your children and deep conversations with them. So I started talking to them about their, Trinity, how you feel. Do you feel different? Do you feel left out because of your complexion or because you think you look different? And she would say yes, and this, and and then we all the sisters, her sisters, me will encourage her. Say she beautiful, like they love her. They couldn't see her being anything else but who she is. See, this is what you do. We pouring into each other. And then I found out in school that they were like, people know their sisters, right? And for a long time, the people always called them twins. They thought they were twins. But see, let me tell you how kids will bring, and some of them don't mean no harm. And some do. Where they'll bring a separation because they always been called twins. But now somebody was saying, well, how is one of y'all light? Why she light? And you and how she light? And with kids, my child really thought she was white. She came home and said, Mommy, am I white? I was like, Trent, is your parents white? Is your daddy white? Is your mama white? Baby, you black. But see, they don't know. And so kids feel the same way as she do. So they like trying to figure out, how are y'all sisters? And I'm thinking, we living in 2024. They should know this by now, or people, or the parents should be teaching this by now, because we know that there's so many different races, and racism is on, has went on a rise in a lot of cases, and colorism been exposed, and we're having the conversations, but some folks are still not having the conversation. We're still living in ignorance. So I have to really talk to my baby. I gotta tell my child she's black when she don't even know she black, because her complexion is so different than her siblings, that she has to ask me. She don't understand DNA. So I had to even have that conversation, try to break it down elementary style, and her big sister helped with that too. And we looked up some things, and we tried to tell her how DNA is, and she knows that she looks like my mom. I show her pictures of my mom. She knows this is where you get this from. You don't look like me, your mom personally, but you look like my mom. You look like my mom. And so that's what you look like. You didn't look like me. But that's okay, because I didn't look like my mom either. And that's what I told her. I didn't look like my mom. See, mommy's brown and mommy's mom was light. So now your mom is brown, but you're light. So just telling like, and you just see her perk up and cheer up. You just have to talk to your children. You got to love them and teach them about themselves. If folks want to feel like, and I know that we get super spiritual and deep and feel like God is not in the detail of things. If he wasn't in the details of things, then we would all look alike and we would all be the same color. But if it wasn't important to know that you're beautiful in the color and the skin that you in, whether it's the black as of black or the white as of white. Or you fall somewhere in between the spectrum. It doesn't matter. When God created you, he didn't make a mistake. He created you authentic to who you are. He broke the mold when he finished creating you, because no two person are alike. Even twins, identical, are not exactly alike. So we have to get to a place where we have these tough conversations, and that we won't shy away from having the conversations with our friends, whether they're white, black, Asian, Indian. It don't matter. We don't have the conversation. We need to kill the stereotypes. We need to kill the colorism and racism amongst ourselves in the Christian community first. And then remember, charity starts at home and then spread abroad. So these conversations and this transparency is for you to see that you don't have to feel ashamed for how you feel, because a lot of people want to give us the room to speak our truth, even if our truth is wrong, because sometimes if we able to speak our truth, we can understand that what we may believe, somebody has the answer for us to give us a different perspective. It says that for us to be able to share our testimony, that they can be, look, I think it's the scripture that talks about, bring it to me, Lord. There you go. Confess ye faults one to another so that you may be healed. So even if it's a fault in how you think about different races or different colors, maybe there's a fault in you. But if you don't get the opportunity to speak that fault to someone that's not going to judge you with it, it don't never get healed. You don't never get a different perspective. So I say all of that is that, that was my miracle. God did this thing. And there's so much I wanted to share and wanted to say, but I'm already over an hour now, and I didn't mean for it to be this long, but I just wanted to share her story and how God will use a situation that seems so different, that would seem that he will use a situation just as simple as a child having a different complexion, just to bring in healing, just to break generational curses and perspectives, and how we did things and how we believed in things and how we saw things. He would use those type of situations. I didn't even know what he was doing, but he didn't make a mistake. He didn't make a mistake when he created you. He didn't make a mistake. For those who are down in themselves, who don't even understand their beauty from the inside out, that we are still a continual work in progress, and God is turning some things from the inside out, because beauty is the unfading of who you are, to be able to stand. And one thing that I love about the beauty of myself is not what's on the outside of me, it's what's on the inside of me. In this season of isolation and wilderness with the Father, and learning who I am, and able to really say, without thinking that I'm being high-minded, because I'm coming from the mind of Christ, that I can say, Aja, you are beautiful. And it's not about what I'm seeing in the mirror per se, from the outside of what I see on myself, but it's what's on the inside of me, and that I really can love people correctly. I really can love myself correctly. I really can stand in my truth. I really can walk this thing along, even if it hurts, because I know I'm not perfect, but I know that I can hold my head up high because of the beauty that's within me. Yes. The beauty that's within, not the beauty that's without. And I think we focus on the beauty that's outwardly, more than we focus on the beauty that's inwardly. I'm guilty of that. When you're trying to mask, when you're trying to hide. But there comes a time you cannot run and you cannot hide from you. So we're going to embrace all of ourselves, and the things that we need to change, we're going to ask the Father to help us change so that we can become better, walk better, live better. So those times in my past that I had certain perspectives, I had certain thoughts, I thank God for the opportunity to be able to speak those things to, whether it was to friends or whether it was to the Father, so that I can get a greater perspective. And let me tell you something, she's getting ready to be 9 years old, and I'm still getting greater revelation perspective of how he does doing things and why he did the things that he did. Sometimes we don't get an answer, but to get an answer, finally get an answer 9 years later, man, getting better perspectives on, why he does do the things that he do. See, I went through a lot of the things that I went through in order that they don't have to go through it. And if they go through it, it's because now it's becoming a choice. But mommy has given you God. Mommy has given you the Father's word about you. God is giving you, like I was telling y'all, anything that you need. Anything that you need and want to know about you. Man. Anything that you want to know about who you are, you sit at the Father's feet. Read your word, pray to him, and wait and listen. Listen for his voice, for his sheep know his voice, and a stranger they will not follow. I give my children what this word say. And because they love God, and because they know God in their own little walk, that becomes a big walk as they continue to walk with the Father. Give them this as you give you this, so that you can walk according to how God called for us to walk in him. It's beautiful. No matter what mistakes you made, no matter what bad choices you made, no matter what you went through, no matter if your story is infertility, like my story, I have a lot of disappointments in my life. But in the end of certain situations, like even with the divorce, there's a beginning. I went through infertility. And that right there was a struggle, was a battle. But I won. But I won. Mm-hmm. The barren woman rejoices, but I won. And just like the Father carried me through infertility, and now carrying me through a divorce, and starting a new beginning and a new life in him, he gonna carry me through. And guess what? I'm gonna win. And you will too. Because we're beautifully flawed, but we gonna win. We gonna win. Long as you keep your hand in God's hand, you will win. For if God be for you, who can be against you? And with that being said, my beautifully flawed people, until next time, mwah.